Welcome to today's video. This is a B1 level science lesson, and today we're going to be talking about the food chain. So what is the food chain? You can describe what you see um, in the picture. So we have the sun and the water cause the grass to grow. Um, the grasshopper is the primary consumer of the grass. The frog then eats the grasshopper. The snake eats the frog. The hawk eats the snake. And then waste from the hawk becomes fungi, which is a decomposer, which then circles back to produce more grass to start the chain over again. Right, so match each word with its opposite, then match the definition to each word. So you can pause the video, try this on your own, and then restart when you're ready to continue. So herbivore, the opposite is carnivore. Producer, the opposite is consumer. And predator is the opposite of prey. So plants and trees that make their own food using sunlight and soil, um, well, they would be both a consumer and a producer because they are consuming the sunlight and soil, but they're making their own food. Animals that eat plants or other animals for food, those would be consumers. The animals that eat plants would also be herbivores, and the ones that eat other animals would be carnivores. Uh, they could also be predator and prey. Animals that eat only plants and grass would be herbivores. Animals that eat only other animals would be carnivores. An animal that hunts and eats other animals for food is a predator. And animals that are hunted and eaten by other animals are prey. So a food web is a complex network of food chains. So what can we see in this image? So what is a producer? So a producer is something that creates something else. What is a consumer? A consumer is an animal or a plant that uses what has been produced, either by eating it or using it to create food for themselves. What animal consumes birds? Well, probably the fox, I would say. That's the only one I would say I think that consumes birds. And what do birds eat? Well, um, birds can eat mice, grasshoppers. They can also eat grain and grass. And who is at the top of the food web? Well, in this one, it looks like the owl would be at the top. The owl and the fox because, let's see, neither of them, I guess the fox because nothing eats the fox. So the fox would be at the top of the food web. All right, now we're going to read the text. You can pause the video and read on your own, and then match the underlined word or phrase in the text with its meaning, and number one has two correct answers. So you can pause the video and read on your own, or you can follow along as I read. The food chain is a system that shows how many different living things in nature depend on each other for food. It starts with plants that make their own food using sunlight. Animals that eat plants, called herbivores, rely on them for energy. Then there are animals that eat those herbivores. These animals are called carnivores. Omnivores eat both plants and other animals. Every part of the food chain works together to maintain balance. If one part changes or disappears, it affects the others. For instance, if there are too many herbivores, they might eat too many plants and consequently cause a shortage of food for other animals. So every plant and animal in the food chain plays an important role in keeping a balance in nature. All right, so to need something or to help someone survive, that is depend on and also rely on. So those are the two answers for number one. To keep something in the same or in good condition is to maintain. When everything is equal and working together in the right way is balance. Not having enough of something that is needed is shortage, and a job is a role. All right, now complete each sentence with a word from the boxes. Again, you can pause the video, try this on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. So plants, like trees and flowers, are at the beginning of the food chain. They are called producers because they make their own food using sunlight, water, and air. Animals that eat plants, such as rabbits and cows, are called herbivores. They depend on plants for their food. Animals that eat other animals are called carnivores. Some animals, like us humans, can eat both plants and animals. We are called omnivores. Some tiny organisms, called decomposers, help break down dead plants and animals into nutrients that go back into the soil. It's like a big circle. Plants make food. Herbivores eat plants. Spelled herbivores there. Carnivores eat herbivores. And decomposers help recycle everything. Each organism has its own special job in keeping the balance in nature and making sure everyone gets the energy they need. All right, so now read the text again and which words have the following meanings. So we're going to look for example, as a result, and it says there are two words or phrases with this meaning, and next. So the food chain is a system that shows how different living things in nature depend on each other for food. It starts with plants that make their own food using sunlight, animals that eat plants, called herbivores, rely on them for energy, then, so then means next. There are animals that eat those herbivores. These animals are called carnivores. Omnivores eat both plants and other animals. Every part of the food chain works together to maintain balance. If one part changes or disappears, it affects the others. For instance, that would be the same as for example. If there are too many herbivores, they might eat too many plants, and consequently is the same as a result. And then so also would be as a result. All right, now showing cause and effect. We can use some words to show cause and effect, such as therefore, as a result, consequently, and so. Therefore is used to show a conclusion. It usually comes at the beginning of a sentence. There is a shortage of plants in the area, therefore herbivores have less food to eat. As a result, or consequently, is used to show a consequence of an action. It often starts a sentence. There are less herbivores, consequently, it is harder for herbivores to find food, and so is used to show the result or consequence of a previous statement. It generally begins the sentence or follows a comma. So there is a lot of competition for meat, so omnivores are eating more plants. All right, now choose one sentence from each side, then combine the sentences using therefore, as a result, consequently, and so. You can pause the video, try that on your own, and then restart when you're ready to continue. All right, so we could say there are more predators than prey in the habitat. Consequently, let's see, no. Yes, consequently, there is a lot of competition for food. There are more prey than predators. Um, Therefore, the predator population may increase. Oh, sorry, I'm going to check these. I'm not sure about that. Let's see. Okay, there are more predators than prey in the habitat, so there's a lot of competition for food. Yes, we had that one right. There are more prey than predators. As a result, the predator population may increase. There's a shortage of plants. Consequently, herbivores have less food to eat. It has not rained in a few weeks. As a result, plants are dying. And the plants received lots of sunlight and water, so the plants grew lots of fruits. And there might be other combinations of using the connector words, but those are just some examples. All right, same thing here. You're going to use therefore, as a result, consequently, or so to connect the sentences. And here are some example answers. Decomposers break down dead plants and animals. As a result, this returns nutrients to the soil. Plants are the primary producers in the food chain. Therefore, they play an important role in providing energy for other organisms. Humans are omnivores and can consume both plants and animals, so they have many options for obtaining energy. Deforestation can destroy the habitats of many organisms. Consequently, it can lead to a decrease in the biodiversity of an ecosystem, and humans pollute the environment. As a result, fish suffer from contaminated water. All right, now read the text. So where can you add, and then decide where you can add connectors like therefore, consequently, and so. Predators are animals that hunt and eat other animals. You could either put therefore or so here. I would probably say so they need to be good at catching prey. Prey, on the other hand, are animals that predators eat and hunt. Therefore, they need to be good at hiding or running away to stay safe. Predators need to catch prey for food. Consequently, they have sharp teeth and strong legs. Prey animals have good senses and can run fast, so they can escape from predators. Both predators and prey have developed different skills um, to survive in nature's balance. All right, so now look at the picture and see if you can describe what is happening using the language to describe cause and effect. So here people are using plastic bottles. When the plastic bottles are recycled, they are broken down into little pieces. These little pieces get into the water supply. Consequently, fish consume the microplastics. Then people catch and prepare the fish for eating. The fish have microplastics inside of them. As a result, when people eat fish, they consume microplastics too. All right, so now read the story and then answer the questions. Again, you can pause the video, read on your own, or follow along as I read. In 1952, in France, a man in retirement was tired of rabbits eating his country garden, and he wasn't alone. The man had retired from a career in infectious diseases, and he had a plan. He released something called called the myxoma virus, and his wild European rabbit problem quickly disappeared. But within 2 years, so did 90% of the wild rabbits in France. It may seem strange today, but back then he was a hero and even got a medal. But as they celebrated, the virus spread to nearby Spain and Portugal, and wild rabbit populations declined. Then, in the 1980s, another deadly virus swept the region, forcing rabbit numbers even lower. By 2014, 80 to 90% of rabbits on the Iberian Peninsula were gone, and the population of other species who relied on rabbits for food, like the Iberian lynx, were in trouble. So, what happened to the rabbits in France? Well, they were killed by the myxoma virus that was released into their habitat, and the result was that the rabbit population all across Spain and Portugal declined significantly. And then, as a result of that, the species like the Iberian lynx that relied on rabbits for food were also in danger. All right, so look at the images and describe what is happening. How would the animals in the ecosystem be affected by this? And would their populations increase, decrease, or stay the same over time? Well, coastal pollution, the fish are dying, would cause the fish to die, which would cause a decline in their population. People cutting down too many trees, consequently, animals are losing their homes. And then people are putting chemicals in the ocean, and as a result, the ocean is becoming more acidic, and sea creatures are dying. And then the species that rely on these sea creatures for food may also die out as well. All right, so they want you to put these sentences in order. So A is number one, apples grow on trees. So go ahead and try to put these in order on your own and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. All right, so apples grow on trees. And then number two is H. As a result, birds peck at the apples. And then birds are seed spreaders. Consequently, they fly to other places and drop apple seeds. Seeds fall into the soil. So new apple trees begin to grow. Let's see, deer love munching on leaves. Therefore, they graze near trees. Deer are herbivores. And as a result, they help shape the forest by eating plants. Wolves are predators, and consequently, they hunt deer. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Please like, subscribe, share, leave a comment, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.